I really was like
Yeah.
struggled with reading for a while. And I learned to read on Dr. Seuss. I think that rhyming pattern really helped me. So I have gotten a few kids that are like, this is the first book that I learned to read. And that's like very rewarding to me. My friend just sent me her niece getting this book, and she said, which is very appealing. She said, I don't know what this is. And her mom, it's a nudie book. What is it? What the heck is a nudie book? She's going to learn what that is now.
Hey folks, that voice was Katy Tanis. She's an author and illustrator known for her Love in the Wild children's book series. And she is also an AIP Dragonfly graduate. Katy is an incredible example of how it's possible to connect art with conservation education. During this episode, Katy shows some of her inspiring artwork. So if you typically listen without watching the video, you might want to peek at the screen during those segments. But before jumping in, I also wanted to share that this is the 25th episode of Dragonfly Conversations. We started this podcast with the goal of giving voice to everyday conservation heroes, mostly within or adjacent to the Dragonfly community. It's been a blast. I've had so much fun with this, and I really look forward to continuing it. If you are enjoying this podcast, please like, follow, share the podcast, all the things, leave a review. This all helps with the metrics. And also, if you want to help directly with this podcast, please send me an email and I will be happy to discuss some ideas. All right, as always, thanks for listening. Let's get into the episode with Katy Tanis. All right, Katy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank
Excited
you.
to talk with you. Yeah. So I wanted to start by asking about arts and sciences. And I'm just wondering if, as a kid, were you more artsy or more sciencey? And how have you bridged this in your career?
Yeah, as a kid, my grandma was a painter. My dad was like into crafts and stuff. He restores carousel horses,
Oh,
like carving stuff. And my mom was pretty crafty. So we always had that stuff going on, and I liked that stuff. I would say up through middle school, I always liked art class. I was never like a standout art student. I was definitely not the best art student, but I liked art class. But I don't know that I really was drawn to anything. But then in high school, I feel like I was very good at math and science. I really liked math and science in high school, but I was also trying to I was like the kid who didn't take a lunch so I could take like AP art and AP Chem and AP Bio and
okay.
to try and do all.
Overachiever.
Like I would be like eating a sandwich. As I was in like painting class. I just always had broad interests. But when it's time to apply to college, I was like too scared to apply to art school, to be honest. So I thought I would sneak into a college through the math or science department, and then at a college that had art, and then sneak into the art department, which I did. Sort of worked out.
Yeah, you found the perfect career. You've balanced them. So I think of your illustrations, right, for all these books. And I don't know if you can just give us a little encapsulation of your career, because it's really inspiring, I think, for me
Yeah.
and for others that you've been
Yeah.
able to do this.
I think the first my career from my point of view feels like so scattered. So it did take a while to like figure out how to get here. Yeah, so in college I ended up doing computer science. I got a degree in computer science. I just fell into that.
I would not have expected that.
Yes, I have a degree in computer science from like Carnegie Mellon, which is like one of the top computer science schools. Didn't even really by
Yeah.
accident. Never used it a day in my life. And then while I was doing that, I applied to the art school and got a second degree in art at Carnegie Mellon. So I was doing two degrees at once. And basically, by the time I was done, I was like, oh, I do not want to work in computer science. And I was taking a lot of painting classes, and I was getting really into painting the textiles in the background of all these paintings and like nothing else. So I was like, maybe I should try textile design. So I got an internship at Betsy Johnson. She like designed with Andy Warhol and was very cool in the in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. So I got an internship there. I worked there for 2 years. Then I moved to San Francisco and I got a job doing kids design and fashion. And that was a really great opportunity that I also just fell into. It was called Tea Collection, and their like mission was making the foreign familiar for the little citizens of the world. So I got to travel all over the world and meet artisans and craftsmen, people, and try and recreate this in designs for kids.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was a really great job. I'm always like, no matter how cool my job was, I'm always like trying to do 8,000 other things. So I was like trying to just be happy with that and stay there. As I was working at all these fashion places, I was also being like, man, we put like animals and plants on these things all the time and they don't really get any credit. They're not always accurate. If we put Elsa from Disney on a shirt, like Disney makes all this money off of it, like why isn't any of this like helping with conservation, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
had that going on in the back of my head. And with this opportunity with Tea Collection, that company I worked at for a while, there's this whole like storytelling aspect that I found really interesting. I really liked the research and the storytelling. So eventually I took a children's book class at like a community college there. And then I thought I was like, oh, this really ties in so much stuff that I like. It like made a lot of sense. They told me about this organization, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators that I got involved with in San Francisco. So I was trying to do that on the side for a long time. And eventually I was like, this is never going to happen unless I go for it full time. So I quit my job and tried to make it happen. And
That
then,
must have been a scary thing to do to some
yeah,
degree, right?
yeah. I knew I had a good portfolio and I had good experience in that job. And my job was like, I felt like they would have taken me back if I really wanted to after a year. So
Okay.
it was a little bit of I feel like it was like the perfect time to do it. I feel like I had a lot of safeguards in place at that point.
Mhm.
So that's why I made the decision to do it then.
Gotcha. Okay. And before we move into that like next stage in your
Yeah.
career, which is exciting, I'm just wondering if you have any pet peeves that you were seeing in terms of animal representations in art that were causing you to think, let's do better.
Yeah, not that I want to call out, but it's too late now because I already named them.
Too late.
We were doing Scandinavia and they were like, oh, draw some penguins for sure. I'm like, there's no penguins in Scandinavia. Like, why are we putting this here? And I was okay. We did a tiger and a dragon for almost every culture, but like most cultures, even if dragons don't live there, they have a cultural connection to dragons in some way.
Like actual dragons are like Komodo
Oh,
dragons.
sorry.
Yeah.
Actual dragons. I meant to say tigers. Because dragons aren't real, but
I'm
tigers.
like,
We did tigers for Spain, but we did it like in the style of Picasso. I could have a cultural connection there, but then if we're doing South Africa and we want to put a tiger in South Africa, it didn't really make sense to me. So I was trying to, above just like the cultural aspect, I was also like, why aren't we trying to teach about the actual ecology in these places, putting birds that don't live here on the shirt?
a lion in the jungle. I think
Yeah.
of even Lion King, and it's like his sojourn moment for Simba when he's off in the jungle during that whole period. But I'm like, that's not his habitat.
So there was that aspect. And that was my first project for Project Dragonfly, was all the animals in kids' books that live in jungles that don't actually live in jungles. That was like my first exploration for the first class, because that was a big pet peeve all the time. And like, even if they did live in jungles, there's so many books where there's a tiger, a sloth, and a parrot or zebra or something all living together. I'm like, they're not even on the same continent.
And so I don't know, for someone that's listening that says, oh, does it really matter? Like it's for kids. What do you think? How do you think this matters for like eco literacy and visual literacy?
I get that pushback like kind of a lot. Like, why are you being the fun police? Like, I feel like there's a line, right? If this sort of seems realistic, like, why are we not trying? Like, it's only helping if we're trying to make it realistic, right? Like, why are we not trying to do that? And I don't know, we have a whole generation. I feel like 90% of my generation thinks that penguins and polar bears live together because of Coke commercials. And are we really going to be trying to save their habitat if we like don't even know where they actually live? I think it's subtle. I think it does make a difference, but it's subtle and it takes a long time to see where it's really affecting things. If you're not really understanding something though, like you're not going to make the effort to try and save it. And we have this opportunity, right? Like we have this opportunity to make it right and have kids like really understand what's going on. So why not?
Might think about this like as well, but pollinators, right? So that's my background, and
Yeah.
honeybees get all the attention. And
Right.
on Honey Nut Cheerios, you have a picture of this honeybee, but it looks like a wasp. It's got the very
Yeah.
striking black and yellow, and also it's just I would say bee representations in art in general almost always they don't have four wings. They're essentially flies or they're sawflies, maybe, or they're a honeybee. So they're not showing the diversity that's out there. There's a lot more out there than just the go-tos that people think of that we could celebrate, that we could show.
Like almost every kid's book about bees is about honeybees.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been trying to think of if there's a way to break that. And even when there's a book, I get very mad about chimpanzees being called monkeys in books all the time. That's another pet peeve of mine. And there was a book that came out called Grumpy Monkey with a chimpanzee on the cover. And I was like, yes, finally someone like came up with a way to make this. And I thought the whole book was going to be this chimpanzee was grumpy because it was being called a monkey. But it's not. It's just a book about social emotional learning. And they just call this chimpanzee a monkey the whole time.
Oh no.
And there's lemurs and bears in Africa. And it's like a New York Times bestseller. And they have so many follow-ups. And I'm just like, what? So yeah, there's I can't think of the name, but there was one that came out recently that I thought was going to be like featuring the other bees because of the title. I'm blanking on the title, but it was again just really about honeybees. So nope.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe you had the idea of bees, of colors of the rainbow and bees.
Yes. So sadly, I had a book deal with that page in it. And then with the all the tariffs and everything, that book deal went away.
Were you just looking at something that is a mock-up of it or something when you were
I
just
had
looking
mocked
at
it.
this?
I had the
Okay.
idea and I had mocked it up. So I like to get a book deal, you have to make the book, a version of the book. So I had mocked it up and it was basically all these different animal families showing that there's like a whole rainbow in all of them. And more, we think of frogs as green, but frogs come in almost every color. It was very simple, but a way to just highlight the diversity, the biodiversity, and all these different species that we don't think about. I'm hoping, knock on wood, that it might still happen, but it has to be pitched to new publishers now.
Yeah, I love that as a way of showcasing the others, right? Because there's the quintessential animals that publishers and the public generally think of that if we're doing an animal book, we must have XYZ. And by showcasing different colors of species, you can highlight things that most people have never really thought about. And they
Right.
look super cool too.
And it still has that entry point of these are the animals we're always seeing in books. Like we're always seeing frogs and we're always seeing bees, but we're like expanding the bees and the frogs and whoever else I had in there that we're always seeing.
So, what is your process for illustrating these things? Like your colors are so vibrant, and you're accurate, but you're also not trying to make it like a botanical or zoological sketch from some journal.
And it's hard for me to define like where what like annoys me in the accuracy and what doesn't. But I think for the most part, like kids know lions aren't really pink, usually not pink. So they're not going to be like, see a pink lion and be like, oh, that's real, or see a lion with a rainbow mane and be like, that's real. I think having the fashion background, I have a good sense of what's going to draw people in and make them interested. So I think I can use this kind of like stylization or like what is fashionable to draw people into what I want them to learn about. Like I'm using the stylization as a way to, as an entry point to get them interested in whatever topic I'm trying to share.
Do you want to? We talked about sharing your screen, and if you want to show us some things now, some of the listeners to this will not be seeing the visual,
Yeah.
but so if you can describe as you walk
Sure.
us through any of these, and if you need a moment.
I have two right here. And this is because of two of the pages in these books is where that idea for the rainbow book came from. There's three in this series. I just happen to have two right in front of me. This is Love in the Wild and Love Under the Sea. Love Under the Sea came out just like January 6th. This one's been out for a few years. So this book started as I had a cousin who came out and we used to go to the zoo together all the time. He's 10 years younger than me. And we both liked weird animals. So when he came out, I was like, oh, I want to paint him like an animal card. And I just started researching. Sorry, this again is a big tangent.
No, this is a great tangent because I was going to ask you this. I wanted to ask you about Love in the Wild. And so please, yeah.
Yeah. So I started researching like what's a good LGBT animal that I can paint on a card. And then I saw lions have long-term relationships with other male lions. And I just immediately pictured their manes making a heart. And with lions, it's more obvious that they're both males because they have the manes. So this just kind of came to my head right away. And I painted him this card for coming out. And as I was researching it, though, I was like, man, there are so many like fascinating LGBT stories in the animal kingdom that like I didn't know about. And it was just like so interesting to me right away to be like, this has to be like evolutionarily important that it's in so many animals. And I like never hear about this, right? So I was already like very interested in this idea. And weirdly, like a few weeks after I made that card for my cousin, this bookshop in San Francisco in the Castro, which is like the gay area in San Francisco. It's a gay friendly bookshop, was like, I want to do an art show here. And I was like, oh, I thought it would be a great idea to do like an art show about all this diversity of love in the wild. Just for fun, I did an art show at that bookstore on this theme. And I had been working with this company that ended up publishing this, doing puzzles with them. And so they saw it and they wanted to do like a pride themed book and asked if I wanted to turn it into a book. So I actually got this book deal off the art before even the art and the concept before I actually wrote it, which is an unusual way. Usually the words come first, but the art came first in this case.
Gotcha. That is such a cool story. And now it's Love in the Sea. Is that?
Yeah, and they have Love Under the Stars, like with nocturnal animals somewhere.
Ooh, cool. Those are beautiful. Yeah.
Let me see if that's. Oh, I do have a copy here. Sorry that I'm reading over here. So here's Love Under.
Aw, nice. Barn owls. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, so the reason I started this whole story was in this last page. So these are not realistic colors at all, and their tails are not rainbow, but they all have striped tails. It was just, I had done this other art show, which was, I called the misclassification of mammals, and it was like grouping mammals not on their actual like clades, but based on similar features. And this was one of the artworks. And I like didn't have time to make a pride artwork that year. And I was like, oh, I'm going to turn these into rainbows because that will be cute. And people loved it. It was like one of my most viral posts on social media, and the art director loved it. So it ended up being the last page in this book. And again, not really realistic, but I snuck in a lot of animals that like kids
Yeah, you just described like a little bit of what we're seeing there.
Oh yeah, sorry. It's a bunch of animals with ringtails. So we have genets, a coati, raccoons, a red panda, but I have made the ringtails into rainbows. So instead of having like white or whatever color, yellow, they're all these rainbow ringtails that are all lined up. And then
the text at the top is love wherever it's found.
Yeah. So the line before it is on snowy peaks or underground, love is love wherever it's found is the last line in the book. And so this first edition, we didn't label the animals. And I was getting an email, like 3 or 4 emails a month from parents where the kids were desperate to know which all these animals were, which was great because this first book, most of the animals we chose were like fairly popular animals as an entry point. So this was fun because I was like, see, the kids are interested in weirder animals and we should identify them. So that was really fun. And that's what gave me the idea to do the rainbow book with like actual real colors. So in the follow-up books, we still have popular animals on the cover, but I got to start doing a slightly more obscure animals. Like I have shrews and vampire bats, not that they're obscure, but like a little less loved. And this one, I have a slow loris, a coligo.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
Coligo, night monkey. So I got to be like a little more obscure in this second one. And you can see we labeled all the animals. Oh, there's a pangolin.
Yes.
So I got to get a little more obscure, and same with the ocean. The ocean's a mix of what's popular and obscure, but I got nudibranchs in there, which I was really excited about.
Yeah. Oh, I love nudibranchs.
Or I
I
like to call them nudie branches, which I know is not really
right. I need that. Okay.
I forgot what the beginning of my point was, but
okay, but all right. So I love the origin story for Love in the Wild. Yeah, I think that's so cool. So how are you making these illustrations? If you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the process for getting a book published, basically, usually, again, I got this book series ended up going a little different, but generally you would write your manuscript if you're an author illustrator. If you're an author only, you just submit a manuscript. If you're an author illustrator, you would write your manuscript, you would sketch the whole book, and you would do 2 to 3 final artwork samples. And then you do the whole thing. So that's the process. For Love in the Wild, that art show, I had hand painted like with mostly acrylics or like acrylic wash, which is like a mix of wash and acrylics. But for board books, they like it to be kids that age, like really bold artwork. So the art director wanted me to do it digitally and make it a little bit cleaner. So these are digital, even though they started as real paintings, the first one at least. So I generally sketch by hand still. My process is not very organized. I generally sketch by hand still, and I scan, and then I go back and forth between my computer on my iPad. I like drawing on the iPad best. So I use Art Studio Pro, which is like Photoshop, but a much more affordable version and better designed, in my opinion, and not forcing AI on me like Photoshop is. So I like that program. So I draw for my process. I generally draw like the base shapes and the composition, and then I go in and color it all.
Okay.
And color is, I'm really leaning into the rainbow theme on these pride themed books, which made sense for the concept. But generally, the color is just like very intuitive to me. I don't really think about it that much. It just happens.
Obviously, you have a great eye for it and maybe inspired by what you're seeing in the wild, but then, like you said, taking it in different directions.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I did do a weird mix of this. Like those nudie broncs are like the real colors. The last page in Love Under the Sea, that's all real, the like real colors. But then that last page in Love in the Wild is not at all. So I am taking creative liberties, especially in the color.
I know with Love in the Wild, I'm curious, you said when you started researching what would be a good LGBTQ animal or to highlight, and you realized there was so much, right? Was there anything that surprised you? Any relationships that you decided, you know what, I've got to highlight this in this book?
Yeah, the ones that I thought were the most interesting were when animals had a specific mating behavior that was only when they were courting the same gender. So I think it's rhesus macaques. They do this like chasing game and play hide and seek, but it's only when girls are courting other girls. They don't do that when males are courting girls or when, as far as the last time I researched or looked stuff. So and then I think with ostriches, there's a specific dance that only males do when they're courting other males, but they don't do for courting females, which I thought was really interesting.
That is fascinating. So were you able to like show those through the illustrations, or they just were things that you read and you were like,
so it's a board book, so it's a very young age, so it's like very entry level, and it was really it was a difficult balancing act, right? Because I decided to write them in rhyme, which adds to it. So it has to rhyme, the meter has to be right. I have like very few words to say the stuff in. I want it to be scientifically accurate with the words and also friendly, like to the LGBT community, which I didn't think always went together. Like in the science, they're often saying homosexual behavior, which I feel like almost can sound like a slur, like in a way. And also, that's not fun to read for a little kid, right? That's not approachable. So the text got really simplified, it's not 100% clear for all of them, but they all have a downloadable field guide that has the sources and goes more into the specifics of it. So I have those macaques here, and this is like they look the least like the real animal because the art director really wanted a traditional monkey, and that is not what they thought. But it basically just says peekaboo and hide and seek. You don't know that it's 2 females, but this is the real behavior that the females do. But if you download the field guide, it will say when female macaques court other females, they play peekaboo and hide and seek.
Gotcha. That's so great. You have the downloadable field guides, and it reassures me on the state of society when you're like, I got so many letters asking me what specific animals these were in the ringtail picture you were talking about.
And I think it's interesting because I don't think the parents ever really cared. It was like their children were harassing them and wanted to know what these animals were, and they didn't have the answers. And I think it's really funny. My cousin is constantly like It's not happening as much. Her kid's older now, but she used to call me all the time, either from my own stuff or like other games that they would play. And she'd be like, Sebastian wants to know what this animal is. And she's like, he's right again. So like her son was always right, and they would fight about what the animal was. And I'm like, just stop calling. Sebastian knows what's going on, and you don't. We went to actually with him, we went to the Bronx Zoo, that dinosaur exhibit that I guess it was last spring or whatever. And they had all the educators there asking questions. And they were like, do you know what this is? And he's like, rah, 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 rah. I was like, I don't even know these dinosaur names.
That's funny. Back in the day, I used to work at the Bronx Zoo as an educator. It was my first job out of college. And I did a dinosaur educational thing for little kids one weekend. And I did not realize how prepared. This was for like five to 8-year-olds or something. And I should have been studying all night because these kids knew so much.
Yeah,
They were calling things out. They're like, that's not even a dinosaur. No.
They really know their stuff.
Yeah, they're like, no, you don't use Brachiosaurus anymore. What are you talking about? Brontosaurus? That's retired.
I still don't even know how to say half those dinosaur names that he was.
That's great. So in addition to all the pride stuff you've done, super inspiring and so important, I also feel like you've generally been shining a light on these less charismatic or unlovable species, unloved species, I should say. What is your draw to them, like the nudibranchs and the others that you're including?
I think a lot of them, it's, oh, wow, these are like just as cool. And we're just like not getting the opportunity to learn about them. When I started doing all this, red pandas weren't that popular and axolotls weren't that popular. Sloths weren't even that popular. And I feel like that was something that you saw them grow in popularity because of products. And I feel like that happened slowly. And I don't know that it's true, but I like to take partial credit for red pandas because I was like sneaking them into every design I could for 20 years.
They're so adorable.
Yeah, and like that is a charismatic animal. It just was not known. So I guess again, I think not to toot my own horn, but I think this like bridge between fashion and conservation that I have this like kind of insight where I can take an animal that maybe isn't that charismatic and make it appealing to people. And I think a lot of these just need the introduction and someone's going to love them. There's something cool about every creature. We just have to let people know about them. I did another mini study like about which bears were in books. There's bears in every book. And it's there's 8 species of bears and 4 are in like 98% of the books. And it's like, why? All the bears are just as lovable and like what a wasted opportunity again. You know?
I am guessing sun bear and spectacled bear and sloth bear don't get their full credit that they should get sometimes.
Yeah, you're missing sun bear, spectacled, sloth, and Asiatic black bear is getting a little bit more, but that was on the lower end.
Interesting. All right. So you also went through the Dragonfly Program Masters with WCS Bronx Zoo and the AIP. I just want to hear a little bit about that for you.
I'm the opposite of a lot of people. I really thrived in school and floundered in the real world. Like school just worked for me. So I was really excited to be in that environment again. And like you can ask my advisors, like Dave and Tara had to like basically kick me out. I just wanted to keep taking classes. I think when I went to school, I didn't even know you could really study conservation. Like I probably would landed in that field and I maybe wouldn't have ended up in the same spot. It's something I was like thinking about in the background for a long time. And I mentioned I like quit my job trying to make the book thing happen. And I was trying to write and illustrate my own books. I finally decided to take some illustration only gigs to get my foot in the door. And I was writing, all my books were really conservation themed. So I just felt like I wasn't having much control. Like I wasn't making much progress. So I was like, maybe I do all this research for conservation biology stuff anyway. Like I'm reading all this stuff all the time. Like maybe I'll try and get a master's. And the price seemed really, especially for someone who I didn't actually need one. It just seemed it would be fun and could help my career. So like the price was really turning me off from most of the programs that I looked at. I like couldn't really justify that. And then someone told me about the AIP program and I was like, oh, this is like actually doable. And the flexibility of it too really worked out because I had to be able to balance it with trying to build this career. So it ended up being like a really good choice for me.
Yeah, I imagine any day you were at the Bronx Zoo or the New York Aquarium or any of the sites, probably your mind as you walk the exhibits, listen to the experts and the people that were talking to y'all. I can imagine you just being like so many ideas of
Oh yeah, I'm just
storylines.
like collecting, and it's interesting how they come together, right? There's just all these little tidbits like floating in my brain that I find interesting, and eventually there's some sort of common theme that will emerge, and that's where like a book idea or a puzzle or game idea starts to come from.
Nice. So you probably realize we have a lot of artists and art-minded people gravitate towards art in Dragonfly. So do you have any advice for people that are either doing this, it's a passionate side thing, but maybe they're actually really trying to segue into this as a career?
Yeah.
You're like work really hard.
Yeah. It's hard. You have to find your niche, right? That makes it work. And it's still, I'm doing like 10 jobs right now. I'm doing these books, I'm doing puzzles, I'm still designing shirts for that old job I mentioned.
Really?
Yeah, I'm doing it's no, none of these careers want to pay you a lot of money to do this. I'm doing library workshops in the summer. I have been teaching illustration classes at community college. It's really a juggling act to try and figure out like what is going to work. I had to let go of some of my moral standing in a way to get my foot in the door and then slowly make change from there. Like I have one of the first puzzles that I did, and I don't want, again, I don't want to call out this company because they're really great to work with, but it was a North American puzzle, woodland puzzle, and there had to be a hedgehog in it. That looked, but after they worked with me for 8 years now, they're like, okay, we'll let Katy do her.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. You
and
got
like
the
and I think they're also like with other artists, I think they're being more accurate, like thinking about it differently after I broke them down from the inside.
It's good. As a society, we hope we are becoming more literate, ecologically literate, but we're spending less time outside.
Yeah,
All
which
these
is
things are
hard.
happening at the same time, devices, screens, now AI. People don't know what's real, what's not.
Oh
I
God,
mean, yeah.
it's what is pushed to me with AI from my interest is just makes my brain want to explode I try and do these portfolio reviews to encourage diversity in the illustration industry and help like starting illustrators make their portfolio stronger. And I keep getting these super talented people coming from the animation industry because the animation jobs are all going away, trying to get into children's books. And I'm like, I don't even know what to tell you. You're like more talented than I am. So that's like hard to watch. At the school I teach at, the drop in illustration students is like it's been like a cliff because it doesn't seem like a viable career anymore.
Yeah, that's scary for sure. And I guess we'll just have to keep being. You found a way to be creative and to do things in a different way to find your niche, like you were talking about. And
I feel like I didn't finish really answering that question
yeah,
well.
yeah, go ahead.
And I don't know that I have a really good answer. What I can I it's this is a negative spin, maybe not. But something I worry about me too. Like I meet so many artists that are interested in ecology and are spreading awareness. And I'm like, if we're only spreading awareness, are we actually doing anything? So that is something I like worry about sometimes. I started doing, which it feels like something at least with these library workshops that I do. I now get the funding to give every participant 2 native plants. So they come and they
Hmm.
do a craft and that drives them in. And then I teach them about the native plants. And hopefully they're putting those native plants in their yards. So it feels like it's a little bit of actual like work. So, and I worry that like sometimes like we're also overwhelmed and don't know how to actually help because it feels so overwhelming that the best we can do is awareness. But if everyone's just spreading awareness, is anything actually happening? That's a concern I have with my what I've been doing in that field.
Yeah. With conservation, I know you wrote me and you were so excited that your pollinator
Yes.
area. on the entrance to your town where you live in New
It's a
Jersey,
much
right?
yeah, it's a much smaller area than I initially was going for, but it's a start.
Yeah, it feels really good that something concrete like that, for sure. I know, and I'm sure you get letters, I would think, for Love in the Wild and your other efforts that have literally made an incredible difference for people and their lives, I would imagine. Is that true?
Yeah, I've gotten a few really just a handful of really nice ones from the LGBTQ
Yeah.
community, usually adults that find my book and are
Yeah.
really happy about it, which is that's really sweet and makes me feel good. I also get a lot of hate mail that I'm indoctrinating children and they've thrown my book in the trash and I'm a
Oh,
terrible.
goodness. Yeah. Mm.
So it's a mix. The most things I get are like, which I like wasn't necessarily expecting, like I've gotten quite a few where a kid learns to play peekaboo with the monkey in the book, which is really sweet. That's so cute. And I've gotten, which was really, I struggled to read. I said I loved school, but it was math and science. I really was like
Yeah.
struggled with reading for a while. And I learned to read on Dr. Seuss. I think that rhyming pattern really helped me. So I have gotten a few kids that are like, this is the first book that I learned to read. And that's like very rewarding to me. My friend just sent me her niece getting this book and she said, which is very appealing. She said, I don't know what this is. And her mom, it's a nudie book. What the heck is a nudie book? She's gonna learn what that is now. So I get that. Yeah, it's a mix. I have Love in the Wild got made into a puzzle for adults. So I do get some people who get really excited about this. Adults get excited.
Yes, that's beautiful.
It also got turned into fabric. I also design quilting fabric. That's another one of my side jobs. And a non-binary quilting owner made the nicest video about that, was so happy about the representation. So that was something that was left out of fabric a lot. So that was very
Yeah, I think our director, Dr. Katy Filan, was just telling me that she used some of your fabric. She
oh
knew I
really
was talking to you. Yes, she shared with some project.
great. I never see what people make out of it. I don't have any time to sew ever, so I'm just drowning in fabric samples.
That'd be someone's dream to come help you with
Yeah,
that, I'm
please.
sure.
I don't even want to show you my studio, but there's way too much fabric in there.
All right, Katie, we are heading towards time here. I have been doing this thing with Dragonfly. We like to do reflections so
Yeah.
much in the program. So these are the Dragonfly reflections. So the first one, is there anything you talked about Betsy Johnson, who was an inspiration when you were younger? Were there any other inspirations of art that you saw as a little kid and you're like, I want to make that at some point when we get older?
I feel like I'm not supposed to think this is cool as an illustrator, but I loved Disney movies growing up. I loved like the actual movies and I loved seeing all the concept art for the movies.
Yeah.
So that was very like I feel like that was pretty inspiring as a kid. So I did really all those.
Nice. Yeah, they've had a huge impact on everyone. The art is beautiful for sure. I think you've already answered this, but is there any project that brings you enormous pride that's built?
You're leading into that. No, I am very happy with the Love in the Wild series, and I'm glad that people are connecting to them. But I want to do like an informational fiction book, like a graphic novel about how the lemurs got to Madagascar and all the different theories and funny theories and realistic ones.
Yeah,
Um,
what is the realistic one? I don't even know.
there's so the most likely forever they thought it was one event, like rafting event that happened one time, and then they all evolved from that first set of lemurs. But then just like recently, they now think it happened twice.
Okay.
So rafting is the most likely, but so in Dragonfly, I literally got every English speaking theory from like 1896 to present of how they got there. And it changed so many times based on science and based on,
Yeah.
I just think it's so interesting, all the different theories and how it keeps changing and evolving. And I think like letting kids try and figure it out for themselves is also interesting. So I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah. Once you get your brain going, was there a land bridge at some point?
So that
Could
was
they?
like one of
Yeah.
the theories. And then the first theory, which is way out there, but again, very fun to think about. The first theory was like this hidden some continent called Lemuria, like almost, and it was connected to the New World monkeys somehow. And now there's like this secret people under Mount Shasta, which I have no idea how that's connected to Madagascar, that are the Lemuria people. There's a lot of wild stuff that you can like dig into that's really, I think, has a lot.
I love a good connection of fantasy type stuff to
Yeah.
the science. See, it's just so much fun. That's great. Cool. What about, I know the weather has probably not made this easy, but have you been out in nature lately, Katie, or to a
No.
inspiring place?
It's like it's really hard to balance that with what I'm doing. I tend to, in spring and fall, I'm good about going on mini little walks and like looking for pollinators, basically, because that's what's in my neighborhood. I used to get to travel a lot more, like I mentioned, with that old job, and having a full-time job also gave me a little more money to go on my own adventures. So I have not, I used to travel all the time, and I have not really gone anywhere in a long time. So yeah, most of my outside, and I've gotten very into, between, I think Project Dragonfly like started that, and then also the pandemic and being trapped at home. Native gardening is like a really good outlet because I can do it in little spurts in between projects. I don't have to go far. It doesn't take long. So that's been like a fun little on the side. I have like my winter sowing seeds out there that I keep packing the snow on, hoping it will help them germinate.
Nice. Great. Is there anything else you want to add?
Oh, what's the right word? Show off
Promote?
my friend's books.
Pitch. Yeah.
I feel like she did a very good job of, this actually isn't out yet. It's out in a few days, but in underappreciated creatures, I have not seen a lot of books about plankton. And this is my friend's book, The Ocean's Heart, The Tiny Creatures Essential to Life. And I think
that looks beautiful. So is your friend
the writer, Jillian Hoffman?
Okay, nice.
I think she did a really good job of building empathy for plankton.
Yeah, plankton. I know. And if you don't see it, if you don't have a microscope or some way of visioning them, but yeah, that is
the power of books. You can make something that's not normally seeable.
Right. Beautiful. I love that. The Ocean's Heart. Nice. Katie,
great to
thank
talk
you
to you
so much for sharing all your story, and it's an inspiration.
I miss the classes. You should let the program go on for longer.
Hey there, folks. Just one more thing before you head out. If you have a moment, like, follow, share this podcast. It really helps get the word out about Project Dragonfly and hopeful conservation. And I would love to hear in what ways you are finding this podcast useful, how you listen, what you would like to hear more of, less of, etc. Please feel free to send me any and all feedback, any ideas for guests to Kevin Madison at my email, which is mattiskc@miamioh.edu. That is spelled MATTESKC@miamioh.edu. Thanks again for listening, and have a great day.